Hello PSI Gamer fans, and welcome back to Rimworld. We are continuing from where we left off in the ice sheet, and almost immediately in this episode we are receiving a raid. Outlanders from southwest Rome have approached from 3 different angles and are preparing to attack our base. And as you may be able to guess, taking down this raid will be no small feat. As you can see, there are 4 raiders coming from this angle, another 4 coming from this angle, and finally another 3 raiders for a total of 11, making this the largest raid we've seen so far. So let's see if Shepard can get any good hits in before the raid begins. For this, he will be using the bolt-action rifle instead of the heavy SMG because it has a better range. After landing a couple hits on the raiders, I am having Shepard retreat. However, he did sustain a couple gunshots of his own, so he will be needing some medical attention as soon as he gets home. Shepard retreats to a range at which the raiders cannot shoot him and keeps firing, and Tyson comes to help him. Shepard and Tyson manage to convince the first group of raiders to flee, and then they focus their attention on the second group. The second group of raiders at this time is beginning their assault on our base, so I think a good idea would be to retreat to our kill box to get better defense. And back at the base, there are still some traitors from the end of last episode, and so Shepard and Tyson duck inside while the traitors manage to keep the raiders at bay. It's a very chaotic scene, however, eventually the traitors manage to fend off all of the Outlanders. And among the fallen, there are many notable weapons. Tyson also picks himself up an excellent quality auto pistol, which will serve him better than the normal quality one that he made earlier. We can also see that Shepard has been shot 3 times, so he'll have to give himself some quick medical attention before laying down to rest. And he doesn't get a very high tent quality, but at least he stops the bleeding. I also noticed that one of the raiders, who is downed but not dead, is wearing a sheep wool parka. He is also wearing a pair of flak pants, which serve as very good armor in gunfights. And the following morning, we don't get much rest from any kind of threat because there is a manhunter pack of bison in the area. There are only 2 of them, however bison are quite large and can do quite a bit of damage if they get into melee range. Now I guess that we will not be needing the spike traps for this fight, as there are still only 2 of them. So I have Tyson hold the door open, and Shepard and Tyson prepare their guns. And with the help of the gun turrets that we constructed, this fight isn't too hard. And in the evening, we have another trade ship passing by. This time they are a combat supplier, so let's see what they have for sale. Tyson calls them on the comms console, and the results are rather disappointing. They don't want to buy any of the stuff that we are willing to give away, and we don't have enough money to buy any of their fancy weapons. However, if we move our orbital trade beacon into our weapons stockpile, we can actually see that they are willing to buy a few of our things. And so Tyson can sell off a couple of weapons that we aren't going to be using, and we can make $90 off of the deal. We can also see that this evening, Shepard finishes recovering from all of his injuries. Later in that day, we have a trader visiting us, and we can also see that our relationship with the Civil Outlander Union has improved from -32 to -11, as Benny Boy made it off of the map. Upon talking to the trader that is visiting us, Tyson learns that they do not have very much good stuff for sale. However, we can get 75 silver from them just by selling off a couple of old guns and an old shirt. We can also see that some royal tribute collectors are visiting our house. However, we do not have any gold and we do not have any prisoners, so we will be ignoring them. Shepard spends the evening hauling things back to the base while McTodd cooks food and Tyson does some research. We can also see that night that summer has begun, meaning that Shepard has survived for 2 years out here on the ice sheet. And with some of the wood that we purchased earlier, Shepard is going to get to work on constructing a poker table out of marble. We can now see that Tyson has finished researching the ground-penetrating scanner for us, and this means we will have a new, very effective way at gathering resources. I ordered Tyson to dig out a small area in the wall to place the ground-penetrating scanner, but since he is in a low mood, he decides to go on a food binge instead. And during his food binge, he eats some bad cooking and gets food poisoning. This means it'll now be up to Shepard to build the ground-penetrating scanner on his own. We will also be uninstalling the chess table from earlier, as the poker table gives people recreation more efficiently. We can also start our next research project, which will be multi-analyzers. And the following afternoon, we can see that Shepard is using the advanced component we got earlier to finish building the ground-penetrating scanner. Shepard hauls some steel back to the base to build a power line to the scanner, and now we can start scanning. Shepard will then sit down and start using the new ground-penetrating scanner. This is a job that either Shepard or Tyson can do, as it is directly linked to the intellectual skill. Now that we have this in addition to our research station, we can have 2 people doing intellectual work at the same time. And the following morning, Shepard has already managed to locate some underground steel with the scanner. However, since the steel is really far away from the base, Shepard is going to keep scanning until he can find some steel in a more efficient location. And in the evening, Shepard actually manages to find some steel underground right nearby our base. In order to extract this steel from the ground, we will have to build a deep drill, so we will have to get some more steel first. They have to do a little bit of mining, but luckily Tyson and Shepard quickly gather enough steel to build a deep drill and a power line connecting it to the base. In the evening, Shepard finishes building the drill, and we will now have all the steel we could need for the foreseeable future right from our yard. We will be turning the ground-penetrating scanner off for now, as it consumes a large amount of power, and in the morning, Tyson can get to work at drilling for some steel. We then receive a quest to fight 3 insect hives for some rewards. However, I will spare you the details, and I will just let you know that we will not be accepting this quest. And after constructing a hand tailor bench in our dining area, Tyson is going to get to work on making some clothing. Shepard's t-shirt that he is wearing has become tattered, and it's about time he gets a new one. So Tyson is going to get to work at making Shepard a new shirt out of human leather. Normally, human leather provides mood penalties to people who wear it. However, because Shepard is a cannibal, he actually will get a mood bonus for wearing his human leather shirt. We also receive a quest to fight a mech cluster in exchange for some pretty small rewards in my opinion. And I do not really want to fight 4 Scythers, as well as 1 Inferno turret and 3 Mini Slugger turrets, so I will not be accepting this quest either. And unfortunately, we are now being raided by pirates from the Killer Convicts. They will be preparing for a while, however, they have brought some decent weapons with them, so we will have to be careful. Shepard puts on his flak vest and steel helmet, and grabs his bolt-action rifle. However, before he can get outside to get any preemptive shots on them, the pirates start charging, so he has to retreat back inside and grab his better weapon. This raid isn't super large compared to some other raids we've seen, so we will not be using the trapped hallway for this raid. We will just be positioning McTodd, Tyson, and Shepard behind the sandbags. We can also see that once again our defenses have a bit of a fatal flaw in that the raiders can take cover behind the sandbags by the first door. So after this raid is completed, we will have to change that. I position Shepard behind the wall instead of the sandbags so that he has better cover. And he manages to take care of the raid on his own before Tyson even shows up. Now it is time for cleanup. However, first, we will have to be putting out some fires, and I will be stealing some of these raiders' clothing, as they have actually brought some pretty nice clothes to us. One of the raiders also dropped some Molotov cocktails, so McTodd will quickly take those and use them to burn up some of our old tainted apparel that none of the traders want to buy. And unfortunately, before we even have time to further upgrade our defenses, the killer convicts are back to raid us again. This time, they are attacking immediately, so we just have to get into positions and hope we fight well. And as you can see, with the combined effort of our guns, traps, and turrets, the raiders actually fall quite easily. Tyson spends the next day smelting down the raiders' equipment for a small amount of steel and even a little bit of uranium. The next day, we can also see that after a couple days of drilling, Tyson has accumulated a very large amount of steel. Using this steel, Shepard will be building concrete in certain areas where we have just ice floors, like in our stockpile. And while Shepard is working on the concrete, McTodd is going to grab her Molotov cocktails again and work on disposing of some of the old rotting bodies. The following morning, we are notified of some cargo pods which are landing right outside of our base. The contents of the cargo pods is a large amount of raw fungus. Raw fungus is pretty good as it can be used for cooking as a vegetable, which although is technically inaccurate, it can be used to make fine meals. We are also notified of a slaver from the Civil Outlander Union paying a visit to our colony. So Tyson will go talk to them to see if he can make some kind of a deal. The traders do not have anything too appealing for sale, however, Tyson will sell them 10 flake and 3 wake up that the raiders brought to us, as we are not going to be taking those drugs. We also have another combat supplier passing by, so Tyson will call them on the comms console to see what they have for sale. And by selling some old weapons that we don't want, we can get a total of $9. And while the traders are leaving, they leave us a gift of $222. Later that day, a woman named Yukiko is crashing in a transport pod to the north of our base. The difference between this and a regular transport pod crash, however, is that Yukiko is suffering from paralytic abasia, and so she would like to stay with us. We will haul her back to the base for now, however there's no guarantee on whether or not she will live with us permanently. Tyson then decides to throw a party, however McTodd is busy picking out on food, and Shepard is busy rescuing Yukiko, so he kind of has a party by himself in the rec room. And if we take a look at Yukiko's stats, we can see that she is not probably going to be very useful to anyone in the colony. First of all, if we look at her health conditions, aside from paralytic abasia, she is suffering from asthma, a bad back, and one of her legs has been replaced with a peg leg. In addition to this, she also will not do any dumb labor or firefighting, and she has rather poor combat skills. We will leave her be for now, however I would like to find a way to dispose of her because she will just weigh the colony down in my opinion. A couple of days later, and Tyson is going to turn the machining table back on for another crafting project. We have gathered a pretty large amount of steel, and I think it would be a good idea to use it to make helmets for everybody so that they can stop bullets from entering their heads. They are only simple helmets, so they probably will not block heavier weapons, however they are still better than nothing. And now Tyson, Shepard, and McTodd all have a more adequate head protection. The helmets do not protect their heads from the cold as much as the cloth toques they were wearing before. However, if they need to spend an extended amount of time outside, we can always have them switch what they're wearing. McTodd spends the rest of the day smelting steel, and in the evening we receive a quest called Maddie's Forced Weather. Maddie would like to stay with us, and there will be foggy rain for 8.9 days if we allow her to do so. Since I think foggy rain will not affect us too severely, I decide to accept Maddie to see if she's any good. The forced weather arrives, and Maddie makes her way into the colony. However, if we take a look at her stats, they do leave quite a bit to be desired. She does have a decent cooking skill as well as a good animal skill. However, we already have a good cook, and we do not have any animals out here as we live in the middle of the ice sheet. And the real killer is her health tab. If we check her health conditions, we can see that she has hearing loss in both ears, extreme carcinoma in her torso, 2 stab scars on her shoulder, and asthma in both of her lungs. So, unfortunately, Maddie will not be staying with us, as she will just be an extreme weight on our colony. However, there is an easy way to remove dead weight from your colony and give yourself a little bit of medical experience. We have Maddie go lay down on a sleeping spot in our dining room, and we have Shepard prepare a piece of herbal medicine. Yes, it is cruel, however we cannot afford to have useless colonists in the ice sheet. I also forgot to film it, but off-screen we euthanized Yukiko for the same reasons that we euthanized Maddie. The following day, Shepard will go to the north to mine for some compacted machinery and gather some more components. And then Tyson will flick on the machining table and take those components and use them to make a new weapon. And after about a day of work, Tyson finishes his weapon, a heavy SMG, and this time it is of excellent quality, and has some rather fitting art on it. Since the heavy SMG is better than Shepard's current weapon, Shepard will be receiving this one, and Shepard's old gun will be going to Tyson. We can also see that Tyson has reached level 8 in the plant skill, so he can actually plant heal root plants now, which is what we will be doing instead of cotton, as we have accumulated a pretty good amount of cotton and we need some more medicine. Later that day, Tyson finds some uranium in the mountains using the ground-penetrating scanner. Then, Shepard figures out how to make multi-analyzers using the research bench. Multi-analyzers will unlock higher technologies than the high-tech research bench did. However, it costs 8 components to build one, and we only have 5. There are also no more veins of compacted machinery to mine on the map, so we will have to wait for a trader to show up that sells them. To build the multi-analyzer, this is also where we will be using the gold we purchased earlier, as well as the plasteel that we acquired from deconstructing the crashed shuttle a while ago. Later in the day, we have a dangerous situation, as a mechanoid cluster is landing to the northwest of our base. It initially is dormant, so it is not an immediate concern. However, contained within the mechanoid cluster is a defoliator, which will eventually kill all of our crops if we don't take it out. Since we do not want to starve to death, it should be our top priority to destroy the mechanoid cluster as soon as possible. And so it's time to armor up. We have 2 pairs of flak pants from taking out certain raiders, and we also have the flak vest from the start of this series. Shepard will put on the vest as well as one of the pairs of pants, and Tyson will put on the other pair of pants. McTodd will take the frag grenades that one of the raiders dropped earlier, as the Molotov cocktail she has equipped will not do any damage to mechanoids. And before we wake up the mechanoids, we will do a little building project as a preparation. Tyson takes some steel over to where the mechanoids are, and constructs a steel spike trap right around the corner from where the mechanoids have set up. On her way over, McTodd will also bring some more steel to set up a second spike trap. Shepard and McTodd will also quickly eat the meals that they have with them so that they don't get hungry and have a mental breakdown during the oncoming combat. Tyson and Shepard step back and prepare their guns, and McTodd heads up to the front with her grenades. McTodd throws a grenade in an attempt to remove both of the turrets that can see her. Unfortunately, her aim is rather off. The Scyther is filled with bullets and quickly falls to the steel spike trap. However, McTodd has sustained some rather grievous injuries. The pikeman falls shortly afterwards, however we still have to take out the turrets. McTodd will then give her grenades to Tyson for him to take out the remaining turrets, because I do not want to risk McTodd receiving any more injuries. Tyson manages to take down the remaining turrets, having only received a minor gunshot injury, and our 3 colonists can then work together to destroy the defoliator and save the day. McTodd and Tyson make their way back to the base to receive medical attention from Shepard. However, Tyson has a mental breakdown and starts wandering around before he makes it back. And because of the heavy amount of damage that McTodd took, I will be giving her some of our Glitterworld medicine for this medical attention, as I do not want her to receive any kind of permanent injury. We can also tend to Tyson's gunshot injury once he goes to bed. And to me, that seems like a good place to end things off for this episode. We should no longer be running out of steel, as we can now drill it out of the ground, and we have also proved our might by taking down a mechanoid cluster. In the next episode, we will likely be getting the multi-analyzer, which will allow us to research greater technologies, which in turn will let us make better weapons and armor to better defend our colony. I would like to thank you for watching to this point in my video, and I would like to encourage you to leave a like and possibly subscribe to my channel. With that being said, I will be leaving this episode here. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.